Morning, everybody. Welcome to my Power Connection live stream. And today is a really big day. It's the Bell Let's Talk Day, where people are sharing about mental health initiatives and sharing their stories. And so today I'm going to talk about something I went through, but I'm also going to invite you to share your stories and also talk a bit about the importance of dealing with mental health in the workplace and letting people know that they're not alone and it's perfectly okay to be dealing with this kind of stuff. So, thank you so much for joining me. If you are joining me, first off, before I get into it, comment below, let me know where you're from. Say hello. Are you from Africa, North America, South America, Europe, Australia, Asia? That's great. Say good morning. Oh, look at those people. Wow. Okay, Tommy, Joseph, James, Randy. Great. Randy Lynn. Good morning. Everyone's here. Say good morning to each other. And then, of course, you can also ask questions. You can ask any question around mental health and how to deal with it. And let me just say how Bell Let's Talk Day works. So Bell Let's Talk Day is an initiative started in Canada, Bell Canada. The idea is that today, every single tweet, social media message, if you send it out, and whether you do when you tweet something, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, if you use the hashtag Bell Let's Talk, Bell Canada will donate 5 cents towards mental health initiatives, and they raise a lot of money with this. And if you're going to send a text message, make sure you turn off your iMessage using the actual text. And yeah, definitely try this initiative. Just send messages to 20 people. Say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about you. On behalf of Bell Let's Talk Day, I wanted to say that message. That's all you got to do. And it's great. It's a great initiative. I'm tweeting about it. I'm posting about it. So I'm sharing this here now. So what I thought I'd do is I'd start off with a story, which is about my first ever panic attack at work. Now, what's interesting is that for someone like myself, those you know me, I'm a pretty chill. And also, if you like what you're hearing, sorry, before I get into it, if you like what you're hearing, like, tap, heart, light bulb, space, all the feed, tag your friends to join the conversation, share this on your own pages, and reshare this and tag people to get them to join the conversation. This is an important conversation to have. So I want to make sure that we're getting more people here. And again, I'm here usually every morning, 8:45 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Some days I can't make it, but typically that's when I'm going to show up and deliver a talk. I actually have LinkedIn Live this Friday morning, 8:45, and I have a guest with Monica Monica Gibbs is going to talk with me about a really awesome topic as well. So hope you join me for that. And already people are commenting. Look, James already great, some good stuff here. Signs of mental health struggling. We don't show our true feelings, but we have tells. That's true, James. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. So let me get into what I'm going to talk about, which is my own personal story. So I've always been a very, very chill guy. I've always been very relaxed and very calm, and I typically don't get. I'm usually good at managing stress. But one time when I was working in corporate space, I was working at Unilever and for the Dove campaign. And I loved the job. I loved the people that were there. It was a really, really amazing time. But it was stressful. I was working long hours and things like that. And something happened to me. One day there was a meeting issue happened, and then I screwed up. And I screwed up this big meeting thing, and I was then called into my director's office, or my manager's office, and my director's office, and I just I started feeling really, really nervous, scared. My palms were sweaty like crazy. My heartbeat was going like crazy. I couldn't talk. It was really, really odd. And he called me in his office, and I just completely shut down. He started asking me what happened, what's going on, and I didn't say anything. And it got to the point where it became really awkward, and he wasn't sure how to deal with it. Like, why is Bobby not even talking? What is going on? And after a while, he just said, well, this is really important. You can't do this stuff and this kind of mistake, whatever. And I didn't have an explanation for him. I hardly said anything. And he just kind of lectured me because I wasn't saying anything. And then I went back to my desk, and I just kind of was really kind of shocked, and my tongue was dry, and it's hard to explain it, but it was just like I could see things going around me. I could see the world moving and people talking, and yet it felt like I was in a movie and or a dream, and I couldn't say anything, and I was just kind of stuck, and I was lost. I didn't know what to do, and yeah, it was a really, really crappy, terrible, horrible feeling. it's like those horror movies where you're in a dream, you're trying to scream, like you're trying to, and no voice comes out, and you don't know what to do. And it was very, very challenging. And what's interesting is that afterwards, I didn't know what happened. I just thought, okay, you know what? I'm an idiot. I'm a doofus. I'm a loser. I screwed up. Um, this is why I don't deserve to be here. All the stuff that goes in your head about what's wrong with you, which is something we all go through, whether it's imposter syndrome or whatever it is. And so I was feeling really stressed, and I had a massive headache afterwards, and I couldn't stay at work, and I went home. Next day, I went to a counselor, and I explained what had happened. And then she said, "Oh, well, you had a panic attack. That's a classic panic attack, an anxiety attack." And you know what I did? You know how I dealt with it? I laughed. I said, "Oh, come on! What are you kidding me? Come on! I'm so chillax. I don't have panic attacks. What are you talking about? That's crazy." I didn't believe her. I thought she was out to lunch. I was like, "No way! I don't have panic attacks." And and then she said, "No, no," and she explained the symptoms. She laid it all out for me. She's like, "No, this is a normal thing. It's okay." And then she said something to me that I'll never forget, and which is it is normal. Everyone has these types of issues, and it doesn't take anything away from your value and the work you do. And that was like, wow, okay, holy cow, big momentous moment for me to understand, how this affects me. Because yeah, you know what? Because it was my first panic attack, and thankfully, thank God, it was my only panic attack. Not knock on wood. There's wood down here. Knock on wood. It was my only panic attack I've had. But I definitely was feeling like a loser, feeling even worse. I was feeling like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm falling apart. And she said, no, you're not falling apart. It's totally okay. This happens. It happens. The saying is, it happens. Well, it happens. And we get it. And we totally get it. And so after understanding that, then I decided to understand more what was going on. And so one of the things I found out was that this is right before I got diabetes. And so my blood sugar was also really high up. I was working long hours, like 10, 12 hours, 12, 14 hours a day, 80 hours a week type thing. It was very stressful. And so all those triggers, my wife and I are trying to start a family, we're having trouble. All these things triggered, this panic attack. And I was dealing with a lot of stuff, as many of us are. And so it took a while to get over it. And I'll tell you this too. I never told anybody anything at work. I never told my boss. I never told my boss's boss. I never said, you know what, the reason why I was in your office and completely not talking and shutting down was because I had a panic attack. Because I felt shame. I felt like, oh, well, if I do that, he's going to fire me, or he's going to think I'm a loser, or he's not going to give me opportunities, or, you know what, it's going to be a big problem for my career. I was thinking about my career, and I want to advance, and I want to do better. And so I never told anybody. I didn't even tell HR because I was too embarrassed. And then eventually, 3 months later, I left the organization because of my health issues with diabetes, and they weren't willing to support me in that, and so I left. And so, got packaged out, and then started my whole new career as a professional speaker, coach, and consultant. Right, and that was 14 years ago, 2006. This all happened, and so here I am now, and I'm able to talk about what this incident that happened, where and people are sharing some really great stuff here. So I want to kind of acknowledge that around the story. But it's funny because it took me years to acknowledge it. So I appreciate the Bell Let's Talk campaign, because they're saying, let's talk about it. Let's put it out there. And they have these amazing, famous people who have all dealt with mental health issues to show you it's normal, it's okay. We're all special. We all have value, and we're all dealing with mental health issues. And I can also tell you, so that campaign started 10 years ago, and I'm super excited to be part of it, to share this live stream. But also, there was we also had a Let's Get Honest campaign that Manu Swish Goswami started with a couple of people. And I remember on LinkedIn, I shared a story about my binge eating and my food addiction disorder, which is like, I would never share that stuff normally on professional platforms, but I did. And I did that because it's important to start those conversations. What I know from my own physical transformation journey, because I've lost 45 pounds and I'm trying to get over food addiction and binge eating and trying to be healthier and manage my diabetes, that talking about these things is really important, and it doesn't make me weak. Vulnerability makes you stronger. Vulnerability 10x is your authenticity. Vulnerability is going to resonate more than anything else you can share with the world. So I think it's important to share that every once in a while. So that's why I'm doing that, and I think it's going to be part of my brand. That's just the way it is, and I accept that, and I'm happy with it. So I share that too, and I'm happy to share the things that I struggle with when it comes to mental health and mental mindset and mental awareness and all those different things that we all deal with. So that's my story, and I think that coming to terms with mental health and coming to terms with the stigma around mental health, I think, is an incredibly important endeavor. And as part of my work in terms of getting out there as a speaker and a leader and going to companies and helping with employee engagement, one of the things that we have to understand is that, a lot of employees are dealing with this stuff. And what can workplaces do to support this? The question I ask you is, what can workplaces do to support deal with mental health challenges at work? Because most do not do this. And particularly the higher level you go, the less likely they're dealing with it. So that's what I want to, that's the question for today. I want you guys to share. So while I'm doing that, some people are sharing some really great stuff here. So I got to go through the comments. Look at this stuff. Holy cow. Maureen, good morning. Howdy, Diana. Great topic, Gilmore. 7, how to improve workplace anxiety or foster better cohesion? That's what James is asking. That's a good question. I mean, there's different things you can do, but one is, the first thing is to start talking about it and getting people to talk about it, particularly leadership. So your manager, your director, your vice president, the more they talk about it, the more likely other people on lower levels to talk about it. At the same time, I think it's important for you to find groups of people, like 3, 4 colleagues who will say, listen, people you trust, people you care about, I want to talk about this stuff. I want to put it out there and see what you guys think. Because, whenever I get together with my friends, whether it's my parenting friends or my entrepreneur friends or my, sports friends, we don't talk about this stuff. And all it takes is for someone to have the courage, and you all have the courage within you, to just say, listen, I'd like to talk about a mental health issue. And today's Bell's Let's Talk Day. Do you mind if I share something? If they're your friends and they care about you, what do you think the response is going to be? They're going to say, of course. And as soon as you share vulnerability, and that's what Brené Brown talked about in her research and what I talked about in my first TEDx talk, which is the 5 C's of connection. As soon as you share vulnerability about something that's very authentic and personal, like mental health issues, other people are more likely to share with you and create a deeper connection. So I highly encourage everyone to do that. I think it's really important to set the tone for that. So just start doing that. The other thing is look at HR and see what are the HR policies around mental health issues. And maybe they're, like, one of the things that happened when I had my panic attack is I looked up that we had employee services where I could go see a counselor. So that's what I did. And then the next day she told me about that panic attack that I initially denied, but it was good that I had that resource to me. And not all companies have this, but if a company does, go to HR and find out what resources you have to support mental health challenges. That's you should need to. And if they don't have anything, again, call them out and say, listen, we need to have more of this kind of stuff because we all need this. Everyone is stressed. Everyone has issues. Everyone has mental health challenges, or they know someone who does. And so it's important for us to have that. More comments I want to read here. So, and again, if you like what you're hearing, do the hearts, taps, likes, all that kind of stuff. Dan says, I have anxiety too. Thank you for sharing that, Dan. I think that's really important. We care about you. You're awesome. I'm more aware of high functioning anxiety. I appreciate that. Adam Mark says, I'm with Diana. Grateful for you sharing your story here. It's so critical to discuss things like depression, anxiety, and business. Mental health is something which should be at the forefront of our dialogues. It's actually something that's been a huge topic of conversation lately in tech and startups. Yes, Adam, I agree. In tech and startups, there is so much anxiety and people dealing with depression. Like, I've worked with several startups that I advise on and several entrepreneurs that I mentor, and they are not only just dealing with mental health and anxiety, but they're also suffering from depression for a couple of months. I have people on my team that I work with now that have acknowledged this type of challenge. And because, the startup world is very, very intense. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And uncertainty is another thing that triggers anxiety. So, Adam, I'm totally with you on that. I think it's an important conversation to have. I'll share another story with you guys, which is between September and November of 2019 was a very difficult time for me, mostly because I felt very disconnected and I felt overwhelmed. I felt a bit of burnout, and my wife thought I was depressed, although I think I was not. But I discussed this with a few other experts, and I was still very, very. I mean, I definitely was anxious. Probably had anxiety. Probably had some mood issues. But for the most part, I was still progressing, moving forward, and doing a lot of work. And I wasn't actually, some of the aspects of depression weren't there, for what I seen. But it's possible there was something mild there. But you never know. But the point was, I was dealing with it, and I felt disconnected. But I'm grateful for having a support network of people that I care about and are there for me. So these things happen, and particularly as a startup, and the reason that was the big trigger for that was actually the startup entrepreneur piece, where I was feeling overwhelmed and things like that. So I appreciate that. James says, I think it's important everyone sees our struggles, not just the success, how it works. Yeah, anyone who's successful should share their struggles. I'm a huge believer in that. And often a challenge, they say, well, Bobby, why do you share the struggles? Why do you share the bad stuff? I'm like, well, first off, I'm human. I'm real. It's authentic. It connects. Vulnerability is important if I'm going to do the Power of Connection chat, how can I continue to do the Power of Connection chat without being vulnerable and being the best connected person I can be? And in my mind, it's imperative that we continue to be connected and to be authentic and be vulnerable. And so for me, I share that stuff. And, there are people that send me messages saying, why are you doing that? And I don't want to work with somebody who shares their quote unquote drama or their issues or the challenges, or, you're supposed to be this all amazing speaker. You're a 5-time TEDx speaker, Bobby. You're an Inc. magazine top 100. You're like this guy with 500,000 followers. Why are you talking stuff? Because it inspires other people to talk about it and to deal with their issues. It makes me real and human. And I'd rather, if you don't want to hire me for this, then I'd rather you not hire me. Because you know what, that's the type of people I don't want to work with. I want to work with people that understand this and understand the importance of Bell Let's Talk Day, understand the importance of mental health issues, understand the importance of why we're doing this. And I'm getting all worked up here because I'm really passionate about it, as you can tell. So I realize I'm getting worked up. So if you have questions again on mental health or comments to share or stories to share, comment below. I'm going to read through some of the comments that people have here. So there's some great comments here. Wow, this is awesome. Randy Lynn says, we all struggle at some point of, yes. And Ricardo says, Rick says, nothing is wrong with you. Everyone struggles with pandemic. Agreed. James agrees. Krishnamurthy, beautiful Wednesday. Maureen says, appreciate your background story. Thank you, Maureen. I'm happy to share that stuff. Adam says, this kind of reminds me of that scene in Analyze This where Robert De Niro plays a mob boss who has a panic attack. When the doctor informs that he had one, he gets angry with the doctor. Do I look like I'm panicking to you? Like, yeah, that's good. That's my bad Robert De Niro impression. But yeah, I totally get that one, Adam. That's a good one. Question from Krishnamurthy. How do we even know that we're actually having this issue? Sometimes we don't even realize we're going through this. Yeah, that's a great question. How do we know we're going through this stuff? Well, often it comes in hindsight. And since it's 2020, let's practice hindsight, 2020 hindsight. But it's hard to tell when you're in the moment. That's true. However, there are signs before that. So part of it's going to come with doing some meditation and self-reflection on how you're feeling. You can journal things, you can meditate, there's things you can do. That's one. Number two, having a support network of people who are willing to be there for you. But here's the big thing. As soon as you think one of your friends is dealing with something, and you know what, a lot of my friends deal with different types of anxiety. So, there's burnout, which is one topic. There's one about food addiction and binge eating that I struggle with. There is just anxiety over different things, mild depression, full depression. There's different states of mental health. But what it really takes for us is for us to be kind and generous and courageous. If you suspect anyone is feeling this way, reach out to them. So one thing that might help you is that someone actually says, "Hey, are you feeling okay? You look kind of down. You look a little stressed out. What's going on? Let me know." Have the courage to reach out. And then the other thing I'll say is have the sense to be proactive and just do it anyways. Like I know from my friend network, there's certain friends I know that struggle with depression and mental health issues. So I would reach out to them naturally. But it's good to actually check on anyone you want. Like, check on your close friends. How's it going? How are you feeling? And just do it. Just be proactive rather than just being courageous. Be proactive about it. I think that can really help. Adam says, but perfectly underscored how many people misunderstand panic attacks and their power sometimes. Yeah, like, what I went through, I didn't understand what was going on with me. I didn't understand how it was affecting me. I was embarrassed about it. I couldn't tell my employers. I couldn't tell HR. I couldn't tell my manager. And I eventually left, having never told them what had happened to me 3 months earlier. So I appreciate that. And I'm also in the tech startup world. Brad Feld is a super well-known investor who discusses mental health all the time. Highly recommend this content, especially on Twitter. I'll look him up. That's great. I'm a big Twitter guy too. So Brad Feld, I'll look him up. That's great. If you know him personally, why don't you make an introduction and let's actually get him on the show and have him talk about this stuff. Adam's written a bunch about this stuff. Happy to share. Yeah, Adam, I'll interview you. Let's do an interview and let's talk about this because mental health is something that we deal with all the time. So I'm happy to interview you and talk about this. And Dave says, thankful that Bell started an initiative 10 years ago. We need to talk 365. Yeah, we need to talk about this 365 days a year. I think that's really important. Okay, so it's critical for us to kind of share these things. Now, everyone has been commenting. This is great. I'd like to get more comments. So why don't you guys share more about some of your questions around mental health? How can organizations do a better job of dealing with mental health issues? And what are you doing specifically to deal with mental health issues? Looks like I have someone at the door, which, excuse me for a moment. Sorry. And I'm back. Oh my gosh, is that anxious or did that cause anxiety? Oh my God. Okay, wow. So what happened? Someone was at the door and I forgot that someone was gonna come into my building and do some work on the kitchen. And I said, come back later. So he's gonna come back tomorrow. So sorry about that. Okay, so I'm back. What were we talking about? So one of the things I want to talk about is ask people to share their thoughts on, what are your questions around mental health initiatives? What are you doing? What is your organization doing? I'd like them to know more about what that is because that's important for us to discuss. Now, again, what are things that companies can do? Number one, you have to create a culture and an environment of being okay to talk about the things that we struggle with. That includes failure. That includes mental health. That includes anxiety. That includes any sort of parenting issues, health issues, things that are going on in our lives at home. You have to create that environment to be able to talk about this stuff. And it starts with the leadership, right? So the CEO and the vice presidents, you need to fuse that stuff down. But even if you're a manager of somebody, you need to be able to say, listen, with your employees, listen, if you have anything, like today's the day, today's Bell Let's Talk Day, today's the day to send a text to all your employees using the hashtag Bell Let's Talk, so the money's raised. But to say, listen, if you just text, here's what I was like, text all your employees today and just say, listen, I'd love for you to come by my office for a group discussion at lunchtime, a quick chat for 5 minutes. And then you say, I want to let everybody know that we want to create a better environment where it's okay to talk about mental health issues, and my door is open, and you can share that without any negative repercussion. And I want you to know that. So that's one thing you can do today. Another thing that you can do is make sure it's clearly embodied in the values of the organization. When you look at the values of a company that are there, is it there in your values? I can tell you right now, for my startup with my team at DYP, we Discovery Personal Brand, anyone that has an issue with this type of stuff, I say, you can come to me. I've made myself accessible, and we all try to be very compassionate, empathetic, and supportive. And it's something that I love about DYPB and our group. We are extremely good at this, and people like Nina and Nick and Marika and Marcel, you guys are awesome. I'm talking about my team now. I love my team. They're so good. You guys are so amazing at being empathetic and compassionate about any issues around mental health and anxiety and things like that. So I extremely appreciate that about you and the things you guys do. So that to me is a really, really amazing thing. So I love you guys for that. So again, it's important to create that culture. I think you need to instill in the values of the organization. And I think you need to have not just, once a year Bell Let's Talk Day meetings, but you should have probably, monthly check-ins or quarterly check-ins on how people are doing. You could also incorporate private boxes where people can, or a private ombuds person where people can share their challenges and let them know without the fear of retribution. These are all things you can do to try to make the mental health initiatives and the mental health awareness space better, right? These are all things you can totally do. Now, are you doing it? Maybe not. But if you aren't, then either do it or tell your friends, let's get together, let's encourage our management to bring these things into the forefront and start doing more of these things. Okay, that's kind of the main thing I want to say. Now, I've shared my story, and I'm here every morning, or not every morning, but most mornings I do a broadcast on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays around 8:45 a.m. If you are tuning in, thank you for joining in. If you have questions, I want to comment below. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're seeing this broadcast, and let me know if you have any questions or comments on this stuff. Tag people. Let's join the conversation. Let's continue the conversation. Share this on your own page and share like a post about it and tag people. Let's get more people talking about this. Hashtag Bell Let's Talk. Hashtag Mental Health Awareness. Hashtag Let's Get Honest. These are the hashtags that are driving really important conversations around what we're all dealing with and what we're all stressed about. And because we have many challenges in that area. All right. So, but it looks like I don't see too many of the questions unless I've lost out on the questions. Let me just see here. People have other comments. If you have questions, if the broadcast is over and you still have questions, you can totally do that. You can comment below on the questions, add a question, tag people. I will look at every single comment and I'll tell you what I think. Okay, but I think it's important for us to have a conversation around mental health and mental health awareness. And I think it's great that Bell Let's Talk is doing this. And as a reminder, Bell Let's Talk Day, the way it works is if you send a text, make sure you turn off your iMessage. So it's just text. If you send a text, you send a tweet, you send a Facebook message, you do a Facebook comment, an Instagram comment, a LinkedIn comment, and you hashtag Bell Let's Talk, Bell will donate 5 cents for every single message that is shared. So make sure you use the hashtag in all your messages today. I think it's a great initiative. I fully support it. I think it's so important. Hello, Sergio from Mozambique. Wow, I love the fact that when I broadcast, I get people from Australia, Africa, Europe, Asia, North America, South America. It's amazing. So I really love that. I love that we're doing this. And the other thing I'll say about mental health is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help. It's okay to seek counseling. I have many friends, including close friends, who get extremely upset about the idea, that I don't want to seek counseling. They get defensive. Whether it's marriage counseling or whether it's career counseling or whether it's just mental health counseling or what I used to see a psychotherapist for food addiction and binge eating. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't it's not about that. It's not about failure. It's not about any of that kind of stuff. I told a friend one time about seeing a counselor because I felt like her and her partner were having trouble, and she got really defensive. I was like, look, I'm not saying that anything's wrong with your relationship. What I'm saying is that I go in because it's a great checkup. It's for maintenance. It's for a tune-up. Nobody's perfect. No individual is perfect. No relationship is perfect. Your relationship with your parents is not perfect. Your relationship with your boss is not perfect. Your relationship with your partner is not perfect. So going in for these checkups or tune-ups is incredibly important and helpful. So even for like people who are married or partners, this is something that you can do. If you have challenges, go seek help. It's totally okay to do that. I really think you have to go there and just get that tune-up, get that checkup. In fact, because I had a really difficult couple of months last year, I haven't actually checked in with a counselor for a while, and I feel bad. I should. So I probably should go in and do a quick checkup and talk about my year. I think, and another good example of reflecting on year is an initiative by my friend Blake Fleischacker, another fellow speaker. He actually does a thing called Evolutions, where you reflect on your year. And I'll give you another example of a mental health issue that I was dealing with that I was ignoring for a long time. And again, put your questions, put your comments and stories below, but I'll get to that in a moment. So in 2016, my father-in-law passed away, and it was very sudden. It was like a massive stroke, and 2 weeks later he died. Everything seemed to be, we thought he'd be with us for another 10 years, and so it was a bit of a shock when it happened. My wife was grieving, and my mother-in-law, and so she went over to BC, and I was trying to be supportive dad, supportive husband, and I wasn't grieving. And then about 3 months later, I had a memorial, and then 4 months I had a memorial, and then I shared something I really wanted to share, and I broke down, and it was really emotional because I never had the time to grieve, and that kind of was something that shook me. And then I went to Blake's Evolutions event in December of 2016. And we reflected on our year, and we looked at the good and the bad. And so what we did was we looked at the good and the bad things that happened to us month by month, and it was amazing. There was a huge list of stuff, both good and bad. And the whole point was it's a roller coaster journey of our lives, even every year, and it's important to check in and reflect and evolve. And so he got people to go up to share what some of their highlights and what were some of the low points. And so I always volunteer. I'll give you a highlight, sure, and then he would pick me. Okay, who here wants to share their objectives for being here? Oh, I'll do it, but then he'd pick me. Then who wants to share their lows? I said, okay, and so I volunteered. Finally, he said, sure, Bob, why don't you go ahead? And I started talking to my father-in-law, and I said that I just realized like it's been 9 months. It's been 7 months since he passed away, and it's still shaking me. It's still rocking me. I can't believe he's gone. I'm so angry. I'm so upset. I'm so sad. I miss I miss having him as a mentor, someone to talk to. I miss having that, and it still shakes me. And I broke down crying in front of 100 entrepreneurs in this big room, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it that I was still emotionally wrecked, and I was still dealing with it internally because I hadn't processed. Grief is one of those things that it's unpredictable, and you don't know how you're going to deal with that type of stuff. And I couldn't believe it. And even today, like I still feel it. I still like, man, I can't believe he's gone. It's been 4 years, but I can't believe he's gone. Mostly because he was a really strong person. He'd always check in with me about how's work, how's business, how's whatever. No one else does that, right? I mean, except for my parents but not the same. He was doing it more in a very strategic way to do it on a weekly basis. He'd always ask about stuff. He also edited my GMAT book, and so I talked about business issues with him. And whenever I had a business conflict, I talked to him about it. So I missed having that mentor available every week, right? So I think that's where I'm really realized I was missing it. So yeah, I mean, so there's another example of mental health challenges that we deal with. Grieving for someone, whether it's a breakup, breaking up with somebody, or the death of someone is a big challenge. In my fifth TEDx talk, I talk about 20-second hugs, and the only time in the only time in our lives when we hug people for 20 seconds or longer that aren't our intimate partners or our family is tragedy or funerals, because we need that support and emotional support and that letting go and that rejuvenation and that whatever it is. And there's science to show that this actually helps us to do so. And so my whole TEDx talk was about encouraging people to have 20-second hugs with people, which is really rare, but very powerful. But it's a long time to do it, but it's actually quite beneficial. So that's another thing that I highly recommend. So again, as you can see, mental health is something we should all be talking about. It's out there. It's courageous to talk about it. It's a strength to talk about it. You are not alone. It's not a bad thing. It's okay. It's okay to be human. It's okay to be you. And if any company or any manager tells you otherwise, then they're in the wrong. You need to stand for yourself, or get a support network, or let people know, and let's talk about this. A few people are sharing some questions here. Hassan Siddiqui said, "Hey Bobby, you're a role model for me." Oh, that's very nice. Thanks. Kindly share advice about listening for signs and other indicators of high stress or mental health issues with employees. Also, what are some of the recommended counseling organizations connected to workplace counseling in Ontario? So let me start with the second one, which is recommended counseling organizations. I'm not sure. I mean, I know CAMH, Canadian Association for Mental Health, is a great place to go. They're going to your government. I mean, any government site will have resources around mental health. I know there was one just up the street from where I live where they actually have free counseling for people who need it. So those are things you can do. You can definitely go through your healthcare service provider. I went to my family doctor and said, look, I'm looking for my diabetes doctor is the one who connected me to a psychotherapist for my binge eating. So that's kind of what I use as well. And if you just talk about it, post it on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, talk about it, people will come by and crowdsource and give you incredible information about this kind of stuff. So that's what I would say for that. But again, finding the right counselor takes time. It's like finding the right car mechanic or massage therapist. You got to build trust. You got to build some understanding, and there's got to be trust there. So it takes a while to find the right one. Don't fret when the first one you go is terrible. That happened to me. The first one I went to was like, oh my gosh, I don't like this conversation at all. And then the third one I tried, she was amazing. So I stuck with her for many, many years. So, you have to build that trust and figure that out. Listening for signs. Well, The one thing I'll say with listener sign is be proactive. Whenever someone, vents at you or says something out of ordinary and just is full of anger, use your empathy to understand why are they feeling this way. Try to understand how they're feeling, why they're feeling this. So maybe they had a bad day. Maybe there's some mental health challenges here, and that empathy will actually allow you to deal better with people who are exhibiting really difficult anger or bad anger or even trolling behavior on social media. So for me, that's an important thing. When it comes to employees, there's a few things that I would look for. Someone who's normally someone who has a certain personality, and you see their personality has shifted. That's a big sign for me. Another one is someone who has a lot of sick days. If they're having a lot of sick days, there may be some issues around mental health. And again, it's up to the employee, and even the manager and the company should be aware of this. If any of your employees is missing several days, you need to check in and not say, "Where are you?" and "Why aren't you at work?" Is everything okay? What's going on? Come in and let's talk about it. Or I'll come to you and I'll come to your place and talk to you. What's going on? Let's talk. Bell, let's talk. That's the whole thing's about. So I think that's an important thing to look for. What else would I look for? Well, I mean, I look for people who seem to be bad moods, angry a lot, or they seem sad a lot, or someone's crying. I mean, workplace should never be a place where you cry. I mean, if your boss, unless you're really doing stuff, of course. But what I meant is, if a boss makes you cry, that is completely unacceptable. Because I hear about my friends who say that their boss made them cry. I just think that's absolutely outrageous, right? They should never try to make you cry, okay? But by being bullying and dismissive, or how they treat you in a really aggressive manner. It's okay to cry at work, because if you're going through stuff, yeah, by all means have a cry, let it out. That's fine. But if someone is crying, I'll reach out, "Hey, is everything okay? What's going on?" The other thing, though, you have to be mindful though of consent, and people aren't ready. You don't want to push them. Say, "Listen, if you want to talk, let's go grab a coffee. I'm happy to talk." Or maybe you send them a text, right? Bell, let's talk day. #Bell, let's talk. I saw that you seemed a little bit upset today. Listen, if you want to talk privately, let's go for a coffee. I'm just texting you. Keep it private. That's a great way to kind of respect their privacy, so they don't actually feel like they're outed in front of people, or they're confronted in a way that is too aggressive for them. So that's one thing you can do to try to make sure that you can do a better job of addressing that issue. And the other thing I look at too is if you're in an environment that's already high stress, and there's certain types of environments like like financial investment, or apparently dentists, it's stressful, or marketing agencies. It's a very high stressful environment. So that's where you should also be looking for it, because based on the industry, based on the culture, based on the manager or the director or the vice president, how they are, that's going to drive indicators that you may want to look out for when people are, their behaviors are changing, or they may be going through some mental health issues. Another one is that people are working super late all the time. Like maybe they're having trouble keeping up, but maybe they're feeling compelled to stay late. Maybe they're under a lot of pressure. Reach out to them, and talk to them. These are the different things you can do. All right. Looks like more questions are coming up here. So again, if you have questions, today we're talking about mental health and anxiety in the workplace and what I've dealt with. I've shared stories in this live stream. You can go back and check it out through the recording. But I'm also inviting people to share their stories of how they deal with mental health, why mental health is important, what are your questions around that. And this is part of my Power Connection broadcast that I do every Monday, Wednesday, Fridays around 8:45 a.m. I'm Brother Stephen Okoromu from Uganda. How can one change 1,000 families behave the same way, like community service? That's a good question. I mean, that's a hard one, and I'm not sure what the right answer is. But the first thing I'll say is just start. Don't start with 1,000 families. Start with 1 family, then 3 families, then 5 families. Build community around the talking around mental health. Build community around the acceptance around the importance of mental health. And once you get 3 to 5 families or people that are embracing this, embracing the idea, and then you get 3 to 5, say, champions or brand ambassadors around this issue, then it can turn into a movement. And then you get 20, then 30, then 100, and pretty soon it becomes 1,000. But you gotta start by talking. Number 1, put it out there. Number 2, get support resources to help you. Like ask if people have mental health, expertise, or they know someone that's willing to give some time for, like a community group, or let's say a group session with 10, 15 people. I think that's really, really important. And on that note, I want to announce something that I'm going to be doing. I've decided to do. So, from September to November, I was feeling completely disconnected. My wife thought I was mildly depressive. I thought I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and issues, and I was feeling disconnected. So to that end, I've been sending out emails to friends to just reconnect with people. But here's what I want to start doing for all my work friends and colleagues in Toronto. I want to start doing a monthly lunch. Let's just get together and have lunch and just talk about everything: life, work, parents, family, kids, mental health, fitness, politics, whatever you want to talk about. Let's just get together and just be who we are as people, and not. And actually, you know what? Let's not even talk about work. Let's not talk about business or selling. I don't want people coming out and no selling. Just 10 to 12 people getting together and just talking. I know there's people who do like mastermind dinners, and I think those are great. But I just want to have a casual lunch with people. So if you're in Toronto and you're up for this idea, comment below. Let me know, because I want to do this. I want us to start having conversations. We'll get together once a month. We can go to like a cafeteria or a food court, or we'll have to find a quiet restaurant in the downtown core. I'm in the downtown core, like near Queen, and if you're from Toronto, but if I'm in the downtown core, like near Queen and Yonge, Queen and Bay, that type of thing. Queen and Yonge is kind of where I'm at. We could probably find a restaurant to do this. But yeah, let's find a bunch of people and get together. I think that would be great. I think it'd be really helpful for us to just have conversations around this kind of stuff. So I'll probably do another post about that, but keep that in mind. Otherwise, if there are no more questions around mental health issues, let me know. Let me know. You can comment below, and I'll share more thoughts. Once again, my name is Bobby Umar, and Bobby Umar. I'm trying to pronounce my last name properly for people. I've been stuck with the Umar thing for too long, but it's not the way my name is pronounced. My name is Rehan Bobby Umar, and I'm trying to own that. Umar is my last name. That's how it's spelled. It's like taking the word look and then boomer, but then saying lookmer. So Umar, that's how you pronounce it. So you can join if you also know someone else that wants to be interviewed for my broadcast. I have an interview coming on Friday with Monica, but if you know someone else wants to be interviewed that's an influencer or an expert in their field, tag them on the post, let them know, introduce me. I'm happy to engage them and set up an interview with them. I have a couple of interviews already lined up for February, which is great. So I want to do more of those versus less of me talking. You can join me on most Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Power Connection chat. And I look forward to hearing more questions and more thoughts. Share us on your page. Let's get people joining the conversation. Because the whole point of Bell Let's Talk is encouraging conversation. So that's why I'm spending this now 45 minutes with you, because I want to encourage you to talk. I want to encourage everyone to talk. I want to encourage everyone to share. And I hope you enjoyed that with me. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Take care. And again, let's keep talking. Let's keep talking. Okay? Take care.